This video is sponsored by F1 Delta Time. F1 Delta Time is the officially licensed F1 game from Animoca Brands running on the Ethereum blockchain. In F1 Delta Time, you buy NFTs, racing cars, components, drivers, and tyres. You put them together in your workshop, and then you can go off and race the daily time trial. This is different tracks under different weather conditions, and at the end of the week, the top placed players gain rewards. There's also a staking mechanic, which means you can stake cars that you are not using in the game and gain the in-game cryptocurrency called Rev. The game is now launching its 2020 season with a new set of NFTs and is also now experimenting with NFTs that allow you to own parts of the track, which means anytime players race on that track, you also gain some Rev token. You can check it all out at f1deltatime.com. Thanks for the sponsorship.
Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World, the YouTube channel all about the world of blockchain games. Please do subscribe. My name is John Jordan, and in this video I'm going to take a first pass at the Sandbox and the land in the Sandbox. So the Sandbox has been selling land for just over a year now. It's done kind of 4 main waves. There's been a few kind of minor waves of selling off land. And it's sold about 40% of the land. So a bit difficult to see here because we can zoom in, can't zoom too far out. Can we go any further? Well, let's go any further. But basically this is the, as far as we know it, this is the total supply for land in the Sandbox. I guess if the Sandbox became phenomenally popular, then obviously they could launch more land. But I think that would be quite a big decision for them. And obviously, if it did get to that stage, then anyone who bought land in the initial kind of set would have done very well out of it. Anyway, so there's 164,000 odd individual bits of land here. So we can see here, it's difficult, maybe you can't see on the screen. This is basically a square. So this, all these little dots here, it's easy to see on the green ones, all these little dots here are an individual bit of land, a 1x1 land, and the entire kind of universe of the Sandbox at the moment is this one big square. So this is a flat earth from that point of view, please some people I suppose. So what we can see is this land is organized in terms of a kind of flat coordinate structure. So if I click on any individual bit of land here, so you can see I've clicked on this one here, this is land 15,770. So let me see if I can find, we could go down and what I'm going for here. I'm going in the wrong direction because I'm hopeless at navigation. Let's drill in a bit. So 415, what can we get to? -1. So we can't actually get to 0, 0, but we can imagine that we're -13.5. So we can't. Oh, is it here? Oh no, we can't get it. We can't. So 0, 0 is somewhere in this bit here. This is the closest we can get to 0, 0. This is a 12x12 block. It's a 24x24 even. So this is kind of the center of the Sandbox universe, which is why it's a big Sandbox area. So we can kind of look around and we can kind of find any area, and we can actually click on any of these, and we can see which wallet owns it. Some wallets have actually named themselves. Some of them actually put a little. You can put a little face on there. You can put like an image. Anyone who wants to, if you own that land, you have the option to put an image on there, or you can actually put in. Let's go and look at my bit of land. So you can see one here in red. This is one of the lands that I own. So I click on here. This is me, and if I want to, I can go and type something in here. So I could give it a name and a description and upload a little JPEG or ping or something like that. So that's why some of these have pictures on. But what's interesting to think about is to some degree pricing. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. This is just very anecdotal. I've not done any number crunching in terms of the pricing of these things. But I think what's interesting and what is not surprising is we can kind of see some ideas of pricing based around the number, the kind of how the kind of chronology of the selling. So this block here, this was the first sale that happened in December 2019. So this is the kind of the initial land sale, and we can see here some of these kind of companies involved. Obviously, quite a few Sandbox things. We've got MakerDAO, the DeFi protocol. We've got Old Skull Games, who are a game maker, obviously. Pixel, who are the company actually behind the Sandbox. We've got this guy here, Whale Shark, who's an NFT collector. What else can we see? A few of these Animoca brands, the company who owns the Sandbox. Striking, another company owned by the Sandbox, by Animoca brands, sorry. Light Trail Rush, which is a game developed by a French company who kind of mates with these guys. So a few kind of little things like that. And then we have this area here is the second land sale. And this was the big kind of Atari was the big company involved here. So some Atari areas of land, Roller Coaster World up here, Pong. We've got kind of a few other kind of brands kind of coming in here. MetaMask, obviously well known. I don't know who all these kind of G's are. What else? Anything else worth spotting? I think anything immediately comes to mind. And then we have these next areas here. So this one here, a bit difficult to see. There's a little boundary here. So this is wave 3. This was quite a big one. And then we have the Smurfs there, and then we have wave 4, which is this one up here, and it's split into a few different kind of waves. You can see these kind of boundary marks. We've got the Care Bears in that one there. Socios, which is a kind of a social token based around soccer teams. So not really an NFT project so far. It's like a token thing. And then we have this other area up here, and then we have these Binance areas as well. So Binance, the big centralized exchange, has decided it's going to get into NFTs, and it has bought a whole bunch of this land. I'm not quite sure at what level it's bought it at. The Sand token for the Sandbox was launched through Binance, so it could have just be some sort of kind of a combination deal of that. But there's these Binance areas here. What's interesting is there's these Binance areas here, but there's no land sold around it. We kind of think Binance are going to be not necessarily selling this kind of land on the land around here, probably giving it away. Not quite clear. But kind of what we can see here, and what generally seems to happen is this land, the people who've bought on this land are not really up for selling it, is what it seems to me. These are people who were really into the Sandbox early on. There's CryptoKitties there as well, actually, should point out. And they're kind of sticking with it because they got it at the cheapest price, to be honest. And the price of ETH was pretty cheap as well a year ago. And as time's gone on, you've got more and more speculators kind of coming into the market. So the people up here are kind of have kind of bought at the highest level, and it's been quite a lot of people coming in to try and flip the land, buy the land at auction, and then immediately sell it off. And the other thing to think about is if you are going to buy some of this land, is kind of where would you want your land to be? It may sound like a stupid question, but because these lands actually can kind of join together. So if you're standing on this land, you can walk to the edge of the map, and then you'll go onto this land, and then you walk to the edge of the map, and then you go onto this land, F1 Delta Time land. So you might want to be near some of these areas where you actually know people are going to do cool stuff. F1 Delta Time, a game from Animoca brands, they're going to make sure that they've got something cool going on there. I'm not quite sure some of these other ones. I mean, quite who this one is. Don't know who he is. Riddle solved. Might be someone who's going to do something cool. Might not be. So there is this idea that you might want to be you're buying land around other land that is going to be just kind of well looked after and stuff going on, and not just full of idiots, or not just kind of nothing going on, kind of ruined. And there are certainly some of these. Looking at some of these images, would you want to buy a land around some of these things? Maybe you would. I'm not sure I would be massively keen about buying around some of these areas. And it could even be about Binance. I mean, Binance has a lot of land. No one's quite sure what Binance is going to do with it. Probably because they're a proper company, they're going to do something decent with it, but you just don't know. I guess the obvious example here is I have no idea who this Bride of Chucky is, but I don't want to buy any land around there. And this chap or Pickle Pranks, not probably massively keen to be owning land around them. Yeah, they might be brilliant. Who knows? But until I know they're brilliant, then I'm probably not interested in buying land around there. So you can see, so the land I bought one bit of land up here, and actually the other bit of land I bought, let's have a look, is one right down here by Binance. And partly I bought that because it's kind of near the edge of the map, and there doesn't seem to be too much weirdness going on here, and I kind of have some sort of faith in Binance that it's not going to do something odd, but I could be mistaken in that. So that's kind of a rough idea of what I think is going on with this kind of land sale, and we can obviously see that there's a lot of land still to sell. So there's some land here kind of around the outside, all these grey areas. There's quite a big chunk of land here around this original area, so that would be interesting to see. There's going to be some stuff going on here that I don't know around my land. It's some interesting unknowns. Obviously, all this stuff's going to join up, and at some point, all this land's going to be sold off. But while I've been waffling on, let's go and actually have a look at OpenSea. So OpenSea is where people are selling the Sandbox land, and we can just kind of get a rough idea of where in these kind of quadrants the land is actually being sold. Okay, so here we are in OpenSea. So what I've done here is I've selected the Sandbox, obviously, and then I've selected land because there are other assets. And we can see here in total at the moment there's been 66,989 land NFTs in the Sandbox. Obviously, they're not all for sale. But this is kind of what we see, and I've filtered it by lowest price. So we see the lowest price first. So some of these are actually for sale, and some of these are on auction. So we can see here this one has a top bid of 0.11 ETH, but it's got 3 days left. But what I'm more interested in looking at is the coordinates of the land. So basically anything that is going to be, so this one is minus 79, minus 161. So if you think of like a quadrant here, and it basically goes from 200 to minus 200. So if you have, so here we're kind of minus, we're halfway down on this side, so we're halfway along this side and right down the bottom here. So kind of, if you think of that map that I was showing you, we're kind of down here. So that's kind of a fairly new area. Again, all these ones are going to start. These cheap ones are all going to start with minus. They're going to be minus minuses. And minus minuses, it means you're on the, if you think of that map, it means you're on the left-hand side because that's all the minuses, and you're in the kind of the more minus you are, the more in the bottom corner you are. But you're basically all moving to the left and to the bottom of that map as we were looking at it. And this is because these are the lands that were sold most recently. Let's go through them. So yeah, the minus. The bigger the minus numbers, the more in the bottom left-hand corner they are. If it's a minus number, then a plus number, they're going to be in the top kind of left-hand side. But these are all minus. Come on, let's keep going. Let's find one that's not a minus. Are we going to find one? We still haven't found one that's a minus. No, minus. No, not really getting. I mean, that's not. Where's that one going to be? No. No. So here's one that's this is our first. This is the first positive numbers here, but they're still very on the first coordinate. They're very minus, so they're kind of right to the left hand side, and then they're up. So these are actually the ones that were sold more recently. These ones were kind of sold in the third wave, I think. And so we've got a whole bunch now around the same price where they are obviously in the same area because they're pretty heavily minuses, and then they are kind of positive. So they're on the left hand side and then up. Minus. So are we going to find anything that would be positive and positive? There's not going to be a lot of that around, to be honest. But we might find some positive and negative. Let's see if we can find any of that, because that would mean it's in the first or second wave. and as you can see here, we're not really finding very much that's not negative, 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 and very negative. So yeah, some people kind of call this kind of rename their land touching sandbox borderland, and people try and kind of like sell it like people do try and sell real estate, don't they? But the bottom line is looking at the coordinates and having a rough idea of which ones would be interested in actually buying, and obviously we can kind of see that this is like to a degree the new waves of selling of sandbox land are people who basically someone came in and built a new estate of houses. People came in and bought up all the houses, but they don't want to live in them. They just want to sell them on. So it's kind of like you're going to have an estate full of people who are basically probably overpaid, and are they necessarily going to hang around? Now, I guess over time, I think there's an oversupply of sandbox land. So I think the good news is these prices are going to get driven down. And you can see already there's, you pretty much have your pick. I mean, unfortunately, you don't have your pick, because if you want to pick something that is, let's go right down and see if we can find something. We're not finding anything that's not really positive in terms of its coordinates. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to look at all these ones where they've described it. It'd be better off actually also putting the coordinate in there, because the best thing to be selling that I would buy. Oh, there's a 44 minus 75. So that one, 44 minus 75. That's not bad. That's in the second wave. So let's go and have a look at that one. So 44 minus 75. So we were saying 44 minus 75. Let's see where we are. Okay, so we are about here. Let's zoom in. 44, 42, 44. Give me down here on me. 44. There we go. So 44 minus 75. There we go. So that one's for sale. Was it 2.5 ETH? That's not too bad. This is the second wave. I'm not quite sure what these weird zombie guys are. They're not really selling it for me. But you're quite near a big sandbox area there. That's probably gonna, you're gonna be okay. The Atari area is there. That's gonna be pretty good. Another Atari area there. As a land, if I was considering buying any more, which I'm not at the moment, that would be one that I would kind of consider. But so you had to go all the way down to get that, and that is very much not the cheaper option. What we were seeing was a lot of negative numbers. So negative numbers here. I mean, we're on this side. Negative means right down here, and then negative positive means we're going to be up here. And so we can kind of see basically what I was saying was this set of land here on the left hand side. This is the stuff that's being sold off cheap now. These other two bits of land here, these are the ones where the people aren't selling, or if they are selling, they're selling at a much higher level. So just kind of be aware of that. Obviously, just going to go for the cheapest one, then that's fine. Doesn't really matter. You're not going to bother. But I think it's worth investigating the position of the land. I think that will have something to that will be important in the end. But equally, at this point, no one's building on the land, so it's very difficult to tell. So I would be waiting really to see kind of what pans out, who's building stuff where, what are the cool areas. We assume it will be around the Atari areas, the roller coaster tycoons, the sandbox stuff, the mine fund. That those people are going to put good things together, hopefully. But it may be, as will always be, there will always be some cool stuff that just kind of takes off. One example actually up here while we're here. So there is this Planet Rift. So Planet Rift is an area that like a community around the sandbox is going to be building their own, trying to build their own MMO. I mean, whether it will work or not, I don't know. They're very experienced in making games, so that's quite an undertaking. But they are going to be building a lot of interesting stuff there. So that might be, those are the kind of things to keep an eye out when the sandbox actually starts launching later in 2021. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. As I say, this is Blockchain Gaming World, going deep into the world of blockchain games. Hope you find it interesting listening to them as I do about making them. But please do subscribe, and see you next time.